So if you all aren't already, if you all don't know already, I am Akasha Divine, and I am the admin of the Black Polyandry Nation group. And as of tonight, what we have today is an interview with someone who grew up in the polyandry culture. So I'm super excited to see, what that life was like and what she has to say. So let's get her in here and let's see. Let's see. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I have, let me get
Hey.
my. Hi.
Hi.
Ah, yay. I'm
What's
so
happening?
happy to see you. I'm so happy to see you. Thanks so much for coming. Thank you for your patience and your understanding. Thank you so much.
Can you see me? Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear me? You froze a little bit. Okay, it's working.
Yeah. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay.
Okay, great. Yes, thank you so much for coming. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone who's watching. Give us your name, what you feel about polyandry, how long you've been in the life, of course, and just begin with that.
Um, so my name is Ace. That's my online name, the way that you guys can find me. Um, I hope you're talking to me, or are you talking to the people online? Let me ask you that first.
No, I'm talking to you. You can go ahead and just introduce yourself to everybody.
So yeah, as I said, I'm Ace. Um, I grew up in a ethically non-monogamous community, which included both polyandry and polyamory. Um, but in my particular case, my grandmother, my aunt, my mother, um, were all polyandrous.
Wow. So all of them, your grandmother, your mother, and your aunt.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So um how did you, is this something that was discussed? Like, did they come out and use those terms as far as polyamory and polyandry, or was this you just noticed that you live differently from everyone else?
So a lot of the terms that we use in and around ethical non-monogamy today didn't
Mm-hmm.
really exist, uh, when my grandmother, for example, was coming of age. Um, and
Right.
if you find even the term uh, polyamory, which is a bit of a bastard term, was not coined, if you will, until the 70s, right? Because we
Right,
fused the
absolutely.
Greek and the Latin together. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this is all new language in this space. Um, but I mean, it wasn't necessarily a discussion. Um, I mean, I suppose growing up, I noticed that there were people who lived differently than we did, but it wasn't that big of a deal, I guess, because um, not all of my family lives this way. Um, Most of my family is ethically non-monogamous, uh, probably close to 80 or 90%. But
Okay.
obviously there are some folks who aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up in the South, growing up in a rural area, you're going to have people who are, um, you know, more traditional in their choices. So
Right.
it was just us, I guess.
So how did your family who wasn't into ethical non-monogamy, how did they react to those of you who were? Was there like a difference, or it didn't really matter?
Well, I mean, obviously, especially when you have people who are Christian in nature,
Yes,
in
yes.
choice and in religion, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they talk about the Bible a lot,
Right.
which is fine.
Right.
But you know, they also cheat. And that's not to say
Yes.
that everyone does, but that is to say that, you know, usually the ones who will condemn you the most about what it is that you do, um, they may be doing some of the same things in practice. Not to say that cheating is the same as what we do, but it is to
Mm-hmm.
say that non-monogamy is something that's familiar to the monogamous community,
Mm-hmm.
even though it may not be ethical.
Right, right. That's basically the biggest difference. The ethics and morals part of it. So when your family would quote like the Bible, how
Hmm.
would your mom or your aunt react to those statements from other family members?
I mean, really, there's no, my first of all, no one would ever say anything to my grandmother. My grandmother was a wild card, and you can try it if you want to, but it's not going
Hmm.
to go how you think it's going to go.
Right.
Um, and it just depends. You know, if folks want to have a discussion, then I think people are open to discussion. But you know, if you want to have, uh, I mean, can I say it here? If you want to have a shit show, then you will get that.
Right. Basically, I have questions here, but I'm just winging it just because of I wasn't expecting it to be more than one person in your family, so I'm a little bit surprised. But it's just
Oh,
like it's
okay.
really awesome. It's really, really awesome. So I'm just like really wondering, like, at what age did you realize that you know, like if you grew up in it, like your grandmother, your aunt, your mom, but what age did you realize that they had more than one male partner?
Um, I mean, my whole life, you know, my grandmother was married to my grandfather for probably 60 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And she was with her other partner for 40 of those years.
Okay.
Um, but they had had friendships and relationships and whatever else,
Mm-hmm.
even prior to them all living in a house together.
Okay.
So it wasn't, you know, and there were some breakups in the middle. Like
Of course.
my grandmother and my grandfather got separated for quite some time and then came back together again. And, you know, I mean, I don't remember, I don't really remember um, her with him only.
Okay.
So that's not, you know, she's always, my grandmother always had another partner.
Wow. Okay, so basically the like you lived with your mom or you lived with your grandmother, you lived in the house with your mom and her partners?
Say again?
Did you live with your mom and her partners or did you live with your grandmother?
I live with my mom. So my parents divorced when I was 2,
Okay.
but I spent school year with my mom and summers with my dad.
Okay.
Um, so you know, my mom always had multiple partners. My mom was with my stepdad for 20 years, and all of that time, you know, was ethically non-monogamous.
So your father and your stepfather didn't all cohabitate with your mom?
No, when my mom divorced from my dad, that was the end of their relationship. But when
Okay.
my
Okay.
mom began a relationship with my stepdad that
Mm-hmm.
lasted 20 years, they were ethically non-monogamous, the two of them.
Okay, okay, okay. So she didn't have any other partners move in with you guys, just her and your stepfather.
Eh, Um, so for my young life, up until I was a teenager, it was just them.
Okay.
And then once I started high school, my stepdad traveled a lot more with work. So he's
Okay.
gone a lot more.
Okay.
So um, they bought townhomes, condos, or townhomes, I should say. And
Mm-hmm.
so my mom and I were in one. Her other partner was in one next door. And when he got custody of his daughter, she was there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the whole building was us. So it was a building. It was a building of six.
Okay.
Okay.
So how do you feel like what do you think how do you feel it impacted your childhood seeing your family with multiple partners? Do you feel you learned communication better? Like what do you feel you learned as opposed to if you were to have grown up in a monogamous family?
Right. You know, I think I really don't think it was that much different from a monogamous family, to be honest. I mean, there are things that still have to happen to make family work. Bills still have to
Mm-hmm.
be paid, children still have to be educated, you know, life still has to happen. So this
Right.
is not this is a choice about how you lead your life, about the relationship style that you have. This is not, you know, it doesn't really change
Mm-hmm.
um, the basic tenets of survival. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think if anything, for me personally, it allows you to be open to the possibility of the thing. So instead of just saying, this is how it's supposed to be, this is what we should be doing, this is the
Mm-hmm.
right way, those sorts of things, it allows you to see that there are different possibilities in the way that people live their lives, and it allows you to be open to experiencing those things.
Mm-hmm.
um, I think sometimes people say, oh, I want to do this, and I want to have four partners, and I want to do Hollywood kind of make believe thing going on in their heads about what they think. They have no experience really to back this up. So it's one thing to say, hey, I'm
Mm-hmm.
open to this, but how
Mm-hmm.
can you possibly know if you want four partners, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
How can you really know that? Being open to it and then trying it, and then, you know, with your partner developing your philosophy, because it's like buying a house. A lot of times you think, I want this house. I want 4,000 square feet. I want 4 bedrooms, 4.5 baths on a basement with a 3-car garage and a da 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 da. And then when you get it, you're like, you know what? This is really too much to heat. And as soon as I finish cleaning the house, I start right back over again, right? So what
Right.
you thought you wanted is not really what you wanted, right? So that's
Right.
about, that's where experience comes in addition to the fact that folks got to remember there's 24 hours in a day.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like if you work, an 8 hour a day, if you sleep for 8 hours, okay, you got 8 hours left. If you have children, you don't even have that. If you're self-employed, you don't even
Right.
have that. So, I mean, there has to be some practicality and some logistical concerns in all of this. And I think a lot of times, and then you have to define for yourself what a relationship is, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, a relationship is not something with someone that I can see once a year. We might have a great friendship, but that's, for me,
Mm-hmm.
is not a long-term committed partner, which is what I am looking for, which is what I am interested in, right? And so
Right.
I'm not poo-pooing on people who have different relationship styles, or who have comments, or who have whatever the situation may be. But at the end of the day, like, and I'm not even saying that we all have to live together, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm not saying that either. Personally, that's not necessarily my choice.
Right.
Um, but I am saying it's easy for people to say, I want this and this and this and this and this, and have no idea what they're talking about. None.
Right. One of the things that I realize is most times you're right, people, they do have like this unrealistic type of expectation or image or view of what could be or what it may be like. I think
Hmm.
people, they never truly factor in like personal time, because I think there should be a balance between you being in a relationship with your partners, and also scheduling time for yourself, for self-care, meditation, whatever you need for yourself. Like sometimes I need a day, I don't really want to be around you. You know what I'm trying to say? And I think that's normal. And I think that's actually healthy for everyone to have. You know what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think, I think it's difficult sometimes for people to envision the practicality of it because people
Hmm.
romanticize this so often,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
This requires self-work.
Mm-hmm.
You got to ask yourself why you're doing this. Are you doing this for appearances?
Mm-hmm.
Right? As soon as you have a partner for 2.5 seconds, are you running off to tell everybody in the world, I got a partner, I got a partner, I got two, I got three. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like at some
Right.
point, I'm going to question your motives. Like, what is this
Mm-hmm.
about? Because in anything else, you don't tell the whole world everything that's happening in your household. Why in this case do you? And I'm not saying that we need to hide our partners. Don't mistake me there. But what I am
Right.
saying is, what are your motivations? You've got to do that self-work. What does that mean to you? What does it mean to your partners? Is your own autonomy important? Do you allow your partners to have that same autonomy? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Relationship styles, even within, even under the auspices and umbrella of polyandry, the way that we do things is different.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We know the way that you do things and the way that do things are different. So there's nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong with all of that, but you've got to do the self work and you've got to ask yourself those hard questions about what motivates you, what's bringing you to the table, what's really behind your desire to do this.
Mm-hmm. Right, absolutely. So one of the questions that I had was, as far as growing up, right? And you're seeing this, like you have had the opportunity to see both monogamous and polyamorous, polyandrous people practicing in your family. What
Mhm.
made you go down this particular road?
So, I mean, I've been in polyamorous relationships
Mm-hmm.
and I've been in polyandrous relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Polygamous relationships are not necessarily my thing.
Okay.
I'm not knocking it. I understand that a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people come from that. And depending upon your culture and your religion, you may be coming from that space.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not my experience, right? So I can't really speak to that. But as far as so there wasn't really anything to draw me to polyandry because I grew up in it. So I mean, it's on the table by birth. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just it wasn't like one day I had an epiphany. It was more like,
Right.
okay,
This
I
is
was
just life.
allowed to
This is
have a
just life. Like you
boyfriend.
just grew up in this particular culture, so it's just like,
Right. I was
okay,
allowed to have
okay.
a boyfriend when I was 18,
Mm-hmm.
and I had another one too. I don't, like it really is just that simple. And I don't think this is unique. To be honest, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think this is unique to people who practice polyandry. A lot of people can say, a lot of women and men can say, and others, and them and they, to be inclusive. A lot of
Right.
people can say, I had two partners when I was in high school,
Right.
right? Some of
Mm-hmm.
them were just cheating and experiencing life and experimenting with truth and boundaries and all this kind of stuff. But some folks were telling the truth about it. Like, I
Right.
got a girlfriend, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Absolutely. Before there
know.
was any terms about anything, because even I grew up, not even growing up, but I started as far as being poly. I started at 19 when I first started dating. I just never it never bothered me to want to hold someone, I'm trying to say, or be
Mhm.
held, or just be monogamous in general. So it
Right,
wasn't an issue for me. So, but there
right,
wasn't any particular words, or I wasn't aware of the words. Like you said, the
right.
polyamory was coined in 1970.
Right.
And before that, it was just people were just either honest or dishonest.
Right.
So even with you, how many relationships would you say you've been in that were polyandrous? Like, how long did they last?
Okay, since we go in there.
I won't
Get
get
you back to this
too
one.
personal about like what y'all
Uh,
did and none of that stuff, but I
I
just want
mean,
to know, like,
you
how
could
many
be
have you
personal.
had?
We switched gears. It was okay. So let's see. I don't know if you count relationships in high school or not. My two high school boyfriends, I dated from high school, from probably my sophomore year in high school to my sophomore year in college.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a real relationship. I think anything less than 4 months is not a relationship, but as long as it exceeded like that amount of time, I
mhm.
think is pretty substantial.
Then in college, I dated two men um, for 6 years. And so that obviously lasted past college.
Mm-hmm.
That relationship ended. It was a little bit, it was an odd relationship. I was dating both of them. They were both dating other people. The
Mm-hmm.
women that they were dating were nothing like me. The women that they were dating were more like each other. Um,
Okay.
and so in appearance and style and personality, everything. So when we dated, I think it was kind of, I don't think those women ever expected for the both of them to be in a relationship with me. I don't think they expected for both of those men to live with me. But I do know that those men kept up communication with those women, which for me is fine. That is allowed in
Mm-hmm.
my relationships 100%. Because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like as an adult, you need to, if that's what you want to do and you want to keep up those relationships, that's fine by me. Um, to be honest, I feel like it has nothing to do with me. But what does
Mm-hmm.
have to do with me is how you do things here
Right.
and in this household.
Right. What spills over?
Right. And what happens here. So
Yes.
I can care less about who, rah, 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 what happened first, who shot John, da, 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 da. But is there enough time in a day to do this? This. And
Right.
that's just the
Don't
reality of
overstep
it, right?
yourself, basically.
So at one point, one of those gentlemen wanted to get married, and I
Mm-hmm.
loved them. I loved them. But at that point, I didn't really understand, I think, how to navigate. So I knew that I wanted to be with both of them long term, right?
Okay.
But I was unsure about getting married to one because I knew
Okay.
they both wanted to be married.
Right.
And there
Okay.
was no way for me to legally marry both of them. And the
Mm-hmm.
legality of it was important to them. I wasn't with partners at that time who,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times you have people who are okay with, you know, not having the shelter of the legality of it and others who
Mm-hmm.
aren't, right? I
Right.
just happened to be with two men who were very, very vested in the legality of the situation because of their families and their upbringing and so on and so forth.
Right.
And when I couldn't say yes to either of them, that's what ended the relationship. And they
Mm.
subsequently went back to those women that they were dealing with before me 6 years prior, and they are both married to those women now.
Okay. So it's more of they wanted that security. They wanted to do certain things, you know, blend assets and all that other stuff. More so.
Well, now what I know as a 50-year-old woman today that I didn't know as a 20-something-year-old woman is how to achieve those things, but not necessarily have marriage.
Right.
So,
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
I can be, to give you an example, I'm in a marriage now
Mm-hmm.
um, that will be ending.
his time is up.
Mm, mm, mm. Right. So we're legally married,
Mm-hmm.
but I am financially partnered with someone else.
Oh, okay.
So I
Okay,
have
okay.
business relationships and business ties and remainderment clauses and all of these other things that allow a certain amount of financial protection, not only for myself and for my children, but also for the things. So, whenever you're in any sort of ethically non-monogamous relationship, you got to be able to think outside the box. What is it
Right.
about marriage, if you're a marriage person, that gives you security? And usually
Mm-hmm.
it comes down to finances, right? For a lot of people who are coming for that. Not to say that that's all, but you
Mm-hmm.
know, I want to know that in any partnership that I'm in, that should it end, that I'm financially protected. I
Right.
also want them to be financially protected,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if I love for okay, I want them to be financially okay. So I believe in prenuptials. It's not a popular conversation with a lot of people. I believe in prenuptials as far as legal marriages are concerned, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe in copious and thorough documentation and contracts as far as business partnerships are concerned.
Right. If you decided with your partners not to become like financially entwined, do you still believe in like committal agreements, like where you work out a sort of agreement and agree to that? Is that something that you would do to help someone feel secure as far as equal partnership with you?
So, I mean, I think you've got to really sit down and figure out what's important to both parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to get away from the concept of equality and get more into the concept of equity, right? Because the two are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And like if someone is dating you and someone is dating me, don't buy us both the same red
Mm-hmm.
dress, right? It's right.
Right. Right, right,
If
right.
you're dating the both of us, they should get something for you that's relevant to you and your relationship. And they should get something for me that's relevant to my relationship. That's why it's equitable, not necessarily equal, right? Your gift
Right,
might
right.
be, I don't know, I'm making this up. Your gift might be a fancy purse that costs a couple grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
My gift might be, I need you to go ahead and build those raised beds in the back and go on and do my spring planting for me, please and thank you.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
Do you see what I mean? Yours
Yes.
might cost more, right?
Mm-hmm.
But mine might mean something else to me. So we got to get away from quality and I think move more into a space of equity.
That makes sense. That makes sense because a lot of people, what they do is they look at polyandry as something that isn't fair necessarily. You know what I'm trying to say? Oh, how will you treat each man that's in your life? And I think that is a proper concept of equity where each bond that you have is different but equal in the sense of, they're equally important to you. But this is how you would treat everyone. So you would go and everyone, you would date
I don't
everyone and it
even,
would be a
to be
different thing.
honest, I don't even tell people that they mean the same thing, that they're equally important, because you're not. Now, folks don't want to hear this, but let me just go on
Right.
and tell the truth. If
Mm-hmm.
I date, if I date, Nelson today,
Right.
right? And we
Mm-hmm.
started dating today, we're
Mm-hmm.
still learning each other. We're
Right.
unfolding that relationship like a flower blooms. But if
Right.
I've been with somebody for 10 years, it's not the same.
Right. Right.
It
Right.
is
Right.
not the same. And the
Mm-hmm.
expectation should not be that it's the same. Why would you expect that if I met you today, that just because I go on a vacation to Jamaica with someone that I've been with for 10 years, that I should go on that same vacation with you? That's an unrealistic expectation.
That happens. Does that, I
I
mean, does
don't
that happen
care.
to you? I'm just saying, like, do people come into your life knowing that you've had a partner for some time and then come in with those particular expectations, looking at your relationship with that other person?
But look, listen, I've also been in relationships with people, you know, where I've known someone for a period of time and our relationship is kind of on autopilot and it is what it is. And then someone
Mhm.
else comes in, and from day one, it's like a storm. It's like we're just, you
Right.
know, right? But
Mm-hmm.
again, every relationship is different. And to
Mm-hmm.
expect that they're always the same is going to lead to trouble. When
Mm-hmm.
folks expect that they should get everything that everybody else is getting, deal with me on what your issues are. If you don't see me enough, let's try to rectify that. If you want
Mm-hmm.
more of my time, let's try to rectify that.
Right. Absolutely.
Um, don't ever have the expectation that I should have to have sex with you, because that's not going to work.
I like
Don't
how you
ever in
threw
your
that in
life.
there. I like how
Yeah,
you
don't ever
threw
in your
that
life. Do not ever in your life,
in there.
right? Because I sleep with and share myself with those people that I want to sleep with and share myself with. And you are not entitled to that. Just as I'm not entitled to your body, you are not entitled to mine. It's something that
Mm-hmm.
we share with one another. When those sorts
Mm-hmm.
of expectations get in place and when people start ranting it, oh, girl,
Oh my goodness.
I'm a period and full stop on that.
So, okay, so back to your relationships, right? Because I don't want to get off
Mhm.
topic. Back to your relationships. Since you grew up in this culture, you was just like, oh, it's just as simple as, I had these partners. But how easy for you is it to date one and then you meet someone else, you let him know the truth that you have someone already, and he's just like, well, yeah, sure, whatever, let's do this. Like, how how do they react to you being still available even though you are currently dating someone?
You know, it's not always easy. The marriage that I'm in now is legal but not romantic, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we are not involved. We have not been involved with one another since 2011, 2013.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
right?
It's a long time.
So, right, you got to understand. So people have to understand that going in. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we have been friends over this time. You know, we've been important to each other and in each other's lives, but we're just not romantically involved,
Mm-hmm.
right? Most, let me not say most, a lot of people don't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
People and say, well, is every relationship that you're in, every person that you meet, you're sleeping with? All relationships don't begin and end in sex. If your relationship begins and ends in sex, then how in depth is that relationship? Because I mean, one thing I can tell you for sure, we all will age, right?
Yes.
And these hot pockets will get dry, and those little peppermint sticks will get a little soft. This is a fact. This is a fact, right? So if
Yes.
your relationship begin and ends with that, what do you have really? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't like sex. Of course I do, right? And I'm not saying that I'm not a sexual being, but I am saying that there is value outside of that, and we need to spend time developing that.
Absolutely.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so when I meet people, I mean, so yes, I have that discussion with them, that I'm married.
Mm-hmm.
And then they usually people want to know about the logistics. I mean, do y'all
Right.
still live together? Do you still sleep together? Okay, well, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't feel comfortable coming over there. Fine. Could you come over here? Yes. Could you spend the night over here? Yes. Can we go places together? Yes. Oh, so it takes people a while to kind of realize that I meant what I said.
Right. Yeah,
Now,
yeah, yeah. The extra questions come in because their image of once you say married, they already have a
right,
particular image in their
right,
minds. So they have to really break it down or have you break it down in the
right.
smallest detail. Like, well, can I do this?
I just
You
answer
sure?
questions that they want answered, and I always give them the option. Do you want to meet him? Do you want to talk?
And what do they say to
100%. Huh?
that? What do they say to that? They back down after that.
100% of men, 100% of men are like, oh no, not,
Right. Right. They're not
mm.
trying to talk to him.
And I'm like, but why? Because I don't have anything to hide. And they're like, I mean, well, how's he going to be? Is he going to have an attitude? I'm like, yeah, probably. He'll probably have an attitude because of how many times I've called him and said, hey, talk to this dude. He's tired of this shit.
Right, right, right. Absolutely. That is funny.
His thing is, that's your shit. You handle your shit. And I'd be like, okay, so you want to come over? And he's like, I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems. I don't either. I like a really, really peaceful household. And to be honest, I'm not the type to invite people to my home. Like you, I'll put it to you like this: you'll never come to my home, with him
Hmm.
in it or not. I've always been this way. With him in it or not, you will never come to my home unless you're somebody who is important and we are moving into a different space. Like if we just dating, you ain't coming here.
Right. You protect your space, you protect your energy. That's important.
You do not. I don't do all that. We just date, and we gonna have some clarity, some understanding, and probably quite a bit of time in before you ever come here.
Right.
Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Nelson said he had to go. Who was
Yes.
that? Hey, Stephen.
Yeah,
Hey,
Nelson came
Tom.
in early.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how that goes. I mean, I think we as people who have done this before or who may desire to do this, we have to be patient with people who are new to this. A lot of
Right.
times what I see folks
Hmm.
say is, oh, they were full of shit. And they would just they blah, 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 blah. You got to understand that people have had a lifetime of doing things another way.
Right, 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 absolutely.
So just because you say, okay, we're going to do this, and they're like, okay, I'm going to do this, doesn't mean they're going to get it right. So sometimes we have to extend them a little bit of grace. That doesn't mean allowing ourselves to be walked over. That doesn't mean that we should accept lying and foolishness and all kind of tomfoolery, right?
Hmm.
That's not what any of that means. But it does mean that, just because you want to do this and just because you're open to do this, it doesn't mean that you're going to get it right off the bat. It's a journey. It's
Right,
not a
right, right.
destination.
So how patient are you with men or people who are new to your kind of lifestyle? Like, do you go into the whole, helping them reprogram their mind? Like, if you notice, you could be talking to them, learning them, dating them, and they may have certain insecurities about your other relationships. Is that something that you try to ease their mind about and give them reassurance most of the time?
I mean, I'm certainly open to having discussions,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to get into, I tend to like kitchen table type relationships where we can sit down and talk about stuff. Now, that being said, I'm not going to give you every single detail that you want to know about the next man. And we all know what most men want to know about the next man. I'm not telling you that. It's not your business. Mind your business.
The first thing they want to ask, well, what did y'all do? Mm-hmm.
They won't know
Well, what
more
do you
than
think we
you.
did?
So no, now listen, I don't have a problem telling you, yes, we had sex. Yes, we
Mm-hmm.
do have sex. Yes, we
Mm-hmm.
will have sex again. I'm not getting in conversations with you about his anatomy, about his stamina, about these questions usually come from a place of insecurity or from someone who is just not familiar with this lifestyle and,
Mm-hmm.
is just feeling a little weird, right?
Right, right, right.
Now,
Yeah.
what I will have a discussion with you about is how you make me feel.
Mm-hmm.
What I will have a discussion with you about is, you know, I'm open to men of different sizes, different statures. right? Different things.
Mm-hmm.
Men always want to have this discussion about the sex of it. As much as we can try to redirect the conversation and get it into
Yes.
other things. So for me, I'll just have that conversation, right up front.
Mm-hmm.
With most of the men in date, I can date you and I can date your daddy. Don't get it twisted. I will and I can. Right? Um,
Have
you
you ever dated
know,
relatives before?
not my
Brothers,
thing, not my
cousins?
thing. Although it has happened inadvertently
Mm-hmm.
because I was dating someone out of state and oh God, that was just it's not my thing, but it can happen.
Yes, it can. Most definitely. I know
It can
it
happen.
can.
So
You
yeah, I
start
was
dating one person and then you meet the family member and you don't even realize that they're related. And then you realize and it's just like, oh,
or you've dealt with a couple of people and they end up friends, or you're dealing with this one and turns out he knows your home. Listen, I'm not going to mince any words on it. I'm gonna be like, as soon as I see it, I'm be like, me, we were.
Nelson, like, what about grandpa?
I mean, if granddaddy is a young granddaddy can get it too. Don't get it twisted. There's some young
Yes,
granddaddies out here.
it is. And I like the whole salt and pepper beard thing going on.
Yes, salt and pepper sexy.
Definitely.
So I'm
Oh my
open,
God.
but I don't like to date relatives. That's personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I have dated a guy before, and we were in a long-term committed relationship. And culturally, their custom was that should he die, that his brother and I would be married.
Right. That's actually that's called levirate marriage. That's something that Native Americans practiced, a long time ago before colonization, of course. But that's something that's in a lot of cultures, they practice that just to, ensure the
Yeah,
wife and children.
and to protect the family land and assets. So pre
Yes, of
1950s, this was
course.
very common in several cultures in Nigeria, and we
Hmm.
also see it across the Tibetan plateau in those
Right.
cultures as well. So,
Hmm.
I mean, that was something that was expected and understood. And at the time, I think I kind of took it as a joke. I was like, "Yeah, you think I'm gonna give your brother? Not interested. Never happened. He's a child. I would not." But they were deadly serious about it. They were deadly serious about it.
Wow. What is your nationality? Your family's culture.
So I am African American. I'm Gullah. I'm a Gullah Geechee person. So those islands that are off the coast of between Jacksonville, Florida, and Jacksonville, North Carolina, are the Gullah Geechee Islands.
Okay.
Um, my mother's family is African American and Native. Um,
Hmm.
we are, Blackfoot and Cherokee and PD.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Beautiful, beautiful. So this just it stemmed from ancient times, actually. That's probably why it came so natural.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let me not say it's easy because it's not. Listen, if you have been involved with one person and your relationship was easy with that person, congratulations to you. But
Right,
for me, I find that relationships are not easy in general. And and
right.
and ladies, for women who are dating men, I mean, men are men, and sometimes I know, at least for me, sometimes I'm like, can you just go away? Can you just like, I love you. I love
Right.
you.
Mm-hmm.
But can you just be away from me for a while?
That's that
Right?
personal space I was talking about earlier. Sometimes we just need time to
Right.
ourselves.
So then,
Yes,
you
absolutely.
talking about, got to think about that. You got to really, really, and for me, I know what that looks like. For me, I know I need my own room.
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer to sleep with someone every night, either in my room or in their room, but I need my own room. The whole, big screen TV with the 80,000 remotes and the little game thingums and the thing in the room. I'm not. We not. I'm not. Not
Right.
really happening. Not doing it. That little
Mm-hmm.
thing with the stacks. Men sometimes do this thing with shoe stacks and
Oh
boxes.
yeah, their collection, their
I
shoe or
am
hat
not.
collection. Yeah.
These are the ones I wear, and these are the ones I don't wear. Yeah, get it out of my room. So, I need that's not the only reason I need my own space, but I mean, there are more serious reasons, but um, yeah, I mean, those are things that you have to think about. And everyone may not want to live with you.
Right.
Some men
Absolutely.
don't want to live with another man. That's the
That's
reality of it.
true.
Y'all don't want to talk about that. You can't tell them they're doing it wrong because they don't want to live with another man. That might not be the man for you, but you can't tell them that they're doing it wrong. They're entitled to have their own autonomy,
Right.
right?
That's
Living with
why
an
that's why I teach, polyandry. Not every culture practices polyandry the same. Everyone had their own ideology and philosophy behind it,
Mhm.
even though it was more so, I try to tell people polyandry is literally the practice of a woman having, sexual access to more than one male partner in the custom of marriage or long-term committed relationships. So that can look any kind of way. I know in Africa, they would have different spaces where they lived. And if there was a spirit outside of her hut, that means she had a different visiting male, and that male would leave her for that night and not be there. So I know there's some cultures where there would be brothers, and that's in India, where they would all live together. So everyone can practice differently. So it's really all about personal preference.
And you have to, I think for us as African Americans too, we have to not think about Africa as a monolith, right? What you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about may be very common amongst the Maasai,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Wife
Mm-hmm.
sharing may be very common amongst the Maasai. And we think, oh, he just shares his wife. No, the wife can choose to do what she wants to do,
Right.
right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But not so much in another culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they have a history of polyandry, it's practiced differently.
Yes.
Right. So, and some have no. So it's not a monolith. There's all these things, and I don't think we need to get so tied up in what happened historically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of shit that happened historically that I'm not finna do.
Right.
I mean, I can just tell you, I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
do it. I'm not open to it. It's not up for discussion, and it just is what it is. So history is great. But I also don't need history to validate who I am and what my choices are,
Right. Absolutely.
right?
You
So
create
for
your own life.
me, I said what I said.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. So you would prefer your own room, but also like you would like the opportunity to sleep with someone every night. But you also are open to having partners that do not even live in your home.
Um, I prefer,
Mm-hmm.
if the world was an ideal place
Yes.
and I had two men that I could stand for more than 24 hours, sure, I'd be open to living with them. I'd
Okay.
be open to that. But maybe not. I'll say that. And then it depends, lifestyle plays a big part of this and how you live your life.
Mm-hmm.
I travel a lot, right? So
Right.
I had a very, very long relationship with one man in Brazil and one man that was stateside, right?
Wow,
So
Brazil.
my time was split
Yes.
constantly.
How did you arrange that? Was you home 6 months, Brazil another 6 months, or was it every 3 months you would go back and forth? Like how did you arrange that?
It was just to be honest, we didn't really have a set schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Life moved how it moved. And sometime one or the other of my partners were in the same spaces just because of the businesses that they were in. Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So we might all be in the same house for 5, 6, 7 months. We might be separated for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
We might be, now I will say this, I don't necessarily advise that because that was a damn expensive ass relationship. Uh, because
Yep,
you know,
traveling back and
when
forth, of
somebody
course.
when somebody's having a hard time, you know, I'm kind of a caretaker type. So if one of my partners is having a hard time, I don't really care where they are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but like I'm getting on a plane or you flying me out. Like these are our choices. That's what's gonna
Right.
happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how I operate, right? But, you know, finances have not always been like that. You can't always
Mm-hmm.
afford to do that, right? So you have
Mm-hmm.
to think about those things when you start these relationships. What if you can't afford to go? What if, you know, a whole Panasonic happens?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right. And then
we're
you
in a
can't be
whole
around your partner,
pandemic.
then what?
Right. If you can't be around them, or if you know, if you're self employed and that affects your income and you can't afford to just take off,
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, how does that change your relationship? And a lot of times that's where the metal meets the road.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know you love me, but how much you love me? Do you love me when I'm sick?
Yep,
If I
that's
got the
another
if I
thing.
got the ooga boogies, do you love me? If you have
That
to
is
wash
another
my
thing.
body and change my diaper, do you love me?
That goes back to exactly what you said earlier about people romanticizing a certain thing, and that goes into, oh, I would like my partner to be like this, and they have this particular image. So when you get sick or something happens, it's like, mm,
Right. So, you know, those are the type of partnerships that I want. I want those thick and thin partnerships. You
mm-hmm,
understand what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
Like, you know, I may not like everything that happens, but am I a partner or am I not?
mm-hmm.
Right. And I remember in that situation, one of my partners was struggling with his business because a lot of stuff was happening. The other partner stepped in. He didn't want to, but
Right,
it was important for how our lives worked.
right.
You understand what I'm saying? Conversely, I've been with people who like, "Psh, I mean, I hope that they go okay. I hope y'all working it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk about that on my time."
So
Okay.
that's actually what I was thinking about, the difference between kitchen table and parallel. So you
Mm-hmm.
said you would prefer it to be kitchen table. You want everyone to be able to sit down and talk. Um, you would
Kitchen
prefer that they
table
have
to
like
an
businesses
extent.
together and they have like a brotherly type of relationship.
Well, we don't have to do all that. They don't have to do it. I want them to do what makes them comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So logistically, it's easier for me if we
Right.
all have open access to each other. But
Right.
that's just not real life.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel comfortable with that, that's fine. But you do
Okay.
need to have my other partner's phone number. In cases of emergency and concern, you all
Yes.
do need
Yes.
to be able to reach out to each other and to be able to coexist in order to work through whatever that issue is at any given time, right?
Right. Right. Right.
If
Right.
Big Mama is
Absolutely.
stranded on the side of the road and God knows where, who is coming to get her?
Right. That's what I think is important.
Y'all got to work it
For
out.
people have to be able to work together. If something does happen, could they call each other and say, "Well, are you busy right now? I'll go pick her up," or like how does it work when, let's just say, you are at the hospital for whatever reason and they only would allow one close family member to go into the room to visit you? Like, how would that situation work out? Because that's usually the issue that happens with those who may be married and the one that's not married, and them feeling just reassured about the whole relationship.
Alternate.
Mm,
When my current husband, the reason why my current husband and I are still married is because he went through a stroke.
mm,
And of course, I wasn't just gonna, you know.
right.
Uh, so when that was happening, I was legally his wife, even though he had a girlfriend. Now, in that
Mm.
particular case, she chose not to come to the hospital.
Oh,
That was her choice. But if she
right.
did, it would have been helpful if she did.
Right. She could have
I would
spoken
have
with
been
you
able
and y'all
to
could have,
get
you
some
know.
rest, handle a little business. We could have tag team. She could have
Hmm.
had nights. I could have had days. Conversely, we could have whatever. She won't do
Right.
that.
Hmm.
So my thing is, am I dealing with people who, in difficult situations, are willing and able to work through the hard stuff? Because I understand that it may be hard for her because it was new to her. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, 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 right.
She enjoyed her role, what she called herself, the side piece. And I'm like, you're not the side piece. You his woman. I'm not his woman. You
Right,
his woman. You
right.
understand what I'm saying?
It's all about perspective and how they look at it. As long as he's legally married, she sees herself that way, and nothing can
Which is,
change her mind.
and I don't know why, because I'm like, boo, I got a man. That's your man.
Right.
But that's not, you know what I mean? So it depends on what people are bringing to the table.
Yeah, that's the dangers of, conditioning.
Hmm.
The dangers of
Hmm.
conditioning.
But
So
again, we have to be patient with people.
do you have children,
Grown.
grown children, and
Hmm.
they're like, they know about your lifestyle, they understand, everything that's going on. Do they practice polyandry or no?
My son thinks he doesn't practice polyandry, but he does.
Unknowingly?
I mean, no, he knows, but he listen, let me tell you something. My son, bless his heart, I love him. I love him. He
Hmm.
married a very, very, very smart and driven woman. And he wasn't really. She's a lot more serious about life than he was. You
Okay.
understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, you know, if she didn't love him, Lord help me. If she didn't love him, he might be here. No, 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 he wouldn't be here. He'd be with his daddies. But I'm just saying, you know. So she, she's in a relationship with the best friend and him. And they know. But they kind of act like they it's just it's ridiculous. It's stupid. And I've kind of talked to her about it and said, don't let them pull you into trying to act like they don't know when they fully well know what's going on. Y'all
Hmm.
done been in the bed together from the rooter to the tutor. He done spent the night. Weeks on end, moved in at certain points. You know what I mean? Like, stop the foolishness. So
Wow. So it's more so like cognitive dissonance. Like it's there, but it's not something that they're willing to accept for themselves. Is it that?
I just don't think they want to talk about it. Like, they have their relationship. They're the bros. They're just the best of besties. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Hmm.
so I don't think they're just very, very different. Um, like clearly they know. Sometimes she's with both of them, sometimes she's with one or the other of them, sometimes it's in the same space, sometimes it's not. But
Hmm.
I think they're uncomfortable with having the discussion, but they're living the life.
Yes, yes. I think most men are uncomfortable with having the discussion. And I think I blame that on just societal conditioning in general. Like just the image of whatever they have in their mind of what that looks like, it makes them not want to be a part of it as far as, questioning their or society questions their masculinity or whatever, because all of these misconceptions come up when it comes to, online or talking to the regular person who's uneducated about it. That's the first things they start spewing out of their mouths,
But it's
you know.
silly. It's silly. And I'll tell you why. And I get how it can be difficult You know what I'm saying? Some of my family is very, very traditional Christian. They'd be like, that ain't nothing but the devil. But they know enough not to really have
That's
that
my
discussion with
favorite
me at
saying.
that point, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at, in my son's case, for example, he introduces her as his wife.
Mm-hmm.
His best friend introduces her as his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you don't have to get into discussions with people about every aspect of your life. Like in business, I don't
Mm-hmm.
discuss with business people. Look, as far as I'm known, as far as they know, I'm broke and nobody loves me. Because I don't discuss anything at all. If
Right.
people say, "Oh, well, are you married?" But I'll just as soon change the subject
Right. Right. Right.
because I
Mm-hmm.
choose not to have those discussions. Like what are we here for, right?
Right.
Um, now in some business situations, um, I deal with a lot of people in business who are not from the US. You can't do business unless you talk about family first,
Mm.
right? I was with a client yesterday, and in an appointment with anyone else that would have taken an hour or so took 6 hours. But I allotted that much time because I know what the process is going to be. When I
Okay.
first come in, I have to give a gift. Then I have to greet everybody in the household. Then we have to sit for a meal. Then we have to have a toast. Then we can talk about business. And then after business is done, then we have to have another toast. And we have to eat
Mm-hmm.
something again.
Yeah,
That's
that
just,
makes sense. That makes
you
sense. That's
know,
the culture way of doing things. When you're getting into business with someone, it is a relationship, a sort of relationship. So that's pretty much
hmm
you're building that trust, so that you
hmm
guys can work together. So I understand it.
right. So it just depends on who on who you're dealing with. But I mean, I don't, if I'm, if I'm with a man that I'm dating, I introduce him as such. You know, is he a
Hmm.
boyfriend? I'll say he's a boyfriend. If he's a man that I'm dating, I'll say this is my friend.
Okay. This is my friend.
Right.
Have you ever come across a time where you introduced someone as your friend and they later on had a discussion with you and said, I ain't just your friend, and that
Yes.
triggered them?
Yes. I mean, I've had a man call me out right there on the post. So I'm your friend now. Now you tell these folk I'm your friend? Really? How friendly are we? I was like, oh,
He was like, nah, let it be known who I am, okay?
baby. The bros were not having any of my shit. Any of it. But that just means that we really needed to sit down and have a discussion, because what indicated a relationship for him might not indicate a relationship for me. And
Right,
for me,
absolutely.
I didn't necessarily work off of indication. I
Mm-hmm.
work off of actions and words, not just words, actions and words,
Together.
right? You got to do it
Mm-hmm.
and show it. You got to
Absolutely.
do it, show it, say it.
That
So,
makes sense. I think that's something that we have lost as far as like the younger generation. It's more
mhm.
so we have particular expectations and then we have assumptions and then we kind of just move on that without communicating properly.
Ooh, child, I have discussed some things with some of my nieces because I swear to God, I just don't understand how it works. One of my nieces, she has a couple of boyfriends and a girlfriend. She's
Mm-hmm.
actively polyamorous. And
Mm-hmm.
my thing with her is, I don't understand how y'all are in a relationship. How are you in a relationship? Like, I call one of her boyfriends her boyfriend, but the other one, I'm like, that's not your boyfriend. That's just some dude you know.
Right.
How is that your boyfriend? And I'm like, you guys never talk. You never visit one another. How is that your boyfriend? She's like, and I'm like, y'all are doing the
The
whatever you call
texting.
it, right? Y'all got pictures and text. That's your boyfriend, really, child? Mm-mm.
Oh
You
my
just say
goodness.
what you want to say, but for me, now I can't belittle what they think they have together. But what y'all think y'all have together?
Liking.
I mean, you
Attraction.
understand? Does he know? Does he know the color of the skin underneath your left titty? No, that's not your boyfriend. Go away. Just go away. Stop with the foolishness. Tell
That's
that to somebody else.
hilarious.
I'm
That is
sorry.
the
That's
level
just
of
how I feel
intimacy
about it.
that describes the nature of our relationship. If you don't know certain intimate details about me, then we can't possibly be in a relationship.
Does he know what medications you take?
Mm-hmm.
Does he know what medications you're gonna have to take for the rest of your life?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Wow.
For me, have you been to a pap smear with me? No, we don't go together. That's a lie. We just, I just know you. You're just my friend.
Wow.
And that's
What
just me.
what
You're
what
gonna
are
know
the
me thoroughly.
what are the ages of the men that you are open to dating as of right now? Because obviously you are obviously on a particular level of maturity, and I know you do not take no BS. So,
Okay, let me. So, listen. My brain is saying that you have to be at least 40 something to ride this ride.
at least 40 something, not even 40, just above.
I'm gonna
41 and
just say
over.
40 for the purposes of this discussion. Now, have I dated men who are younger than that? Yes.
Okay. And
And
that
after
worked
every
out
one, I
well.
said, I'm never doing this shit again. But
I
listen,
don't know. I don't know. I asked that question just to see, like, what you think, but I have, through my experiences, I do not think that age plays a part because I date significantly older than I am, as I'm 31, and I date
Mhm.
people that are well over 40, almost touching 50, and I still have, sometimes a problem of communication, maturity, just things of that nature, and it's just like, well,
Mhm.
there's really
So,
nothing that indicates a level of maturity. You just have to get to know that person and see,
and
if they're aligned with you or not.
for me, it's not even so much the maturity thing as
Mm-hmm.
the stage of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So range in their early 30s, y'all talking about children,
Mm-hmm.
right? Y'all talking about these little bitty babies having kids, and you got
Mm-hmm.
kids in the house, and I love them, and I'll babysit them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. And if you can't go because you got baby duty, now don't get me wrong. I'm not even saying I wouldn't date a man with young children because I'm not totally opposed to that, right?
Okay.
But when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go.
So they need to be above 40, and they need to be aware that you require a certain amount of, dedication, to where if they have younger children, they might want to think twice because you're at a particular stage in your life where they need to be
I've
ready.
dated men with younger children, and I love children, and I love hanging around with children, but it's got to be a situation that
Mm-hmm.
works. You've got to have a good relationship with their mom, and
Yes.
their mom has got to be comfortable with me,
Right.
right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to understand that a lot of things that happen at mommy's house don't happen at my house, right?
Right.
I understand
Mm-hmm.
you have a television in your room at mommy's house. We don't do that here,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're not going to be on phone all day and all night. We're not going to be on television all day and all night. We're going to read some books. We're going to do
Mm-hmm.
some outside stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your grades are failing, we finna get that all the way together,
Yes.
all the way together,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just some stuff we're not going to do over here.
Right. Absolutely. But I like this conversation. I like this. You're open to men with children. Your children are grown with a son who's in a unknowingly, knowingly polyandrous relationship. Your family has done it. I'm like super excited. I wish I could meet your mom, your grandma. That'd be really nice.
Unfortunately, they both passed last year,
Oh, okay.
2020.
I'm so
So,
sorry.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So, Nelson was saying you should write a book because, you know, he said this is interesting. No, for real. No, a lot of people, a lot of us who are practicing today, most times people are just coming into it, they're learning. They have
Right.
not experienced this or seen it before, not even nothing is close to family practicing, not even no friends, no coworkers. They've never seen it before ever in life. So it's a whole new concept and they're coming into it like, okay, well, I think I may be open to this. I think this is what I envision in my mind. So for you to have this particular experience, it is something that they really are interested in knowing, like, what is that really like?
Right. Right.
So that's why it's like, so it's sought out, definitely. And with the platform that I have where I give like historical knowledge, I would love, this is why I'm talking to today, because I need to be able to give realistic accounts to what this
Mm-hmm.
life is like beyond just the historical, accounts that we read about, right? Because again,
Mm-hmm.
what we read from anthropologists, we don't know if they put their own spin on it,
Mm-hmm.
how they relate a message. Everyone, sometimes they write through their lens. They may not notice, it may not
Mm-hmm.
be complete factual, details of everything. They may not know everything. There may be language barriers of how they translated from their interviews or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all types of different things. So to have a personal, realistic account for today of generations of this is something that's like, that's really, really dope.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think again, it's important for people. If this is something that you want to do, you need to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reading is great and history is
Mm-hmm.
great, but
Yes.
there's nothing like the experience, right?
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
usually
Absolutely.
you got to learn how to, this is not a cakewalk. Let me not say that it's easy, because it isn't. Some of the
Right.
first issues that you all are going to have is there are a lot of gentlemen who come into this who are like, ooh, we get to do all kind of, you know, right? And then one of the second issues you're going to have is you want to meet somebody who lives next door to you. And the man next door is not about,
Yeah.
he is not with the shits. He is not, he
Right.
thinks it's the devil.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't finna share his woman. Now, he
Mm-hmm.
invite another woman in the bedroom, but he ain't finna share his woman with nobody and rah, 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 rah. So
Yes.
then you end up dating people who are out of state. Now that requires a certain level of finance. Are you prepared
Mm-hmm.
to do that? Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like you gotta just to date them. They're not even y'all aren't even in a relationship. Y'all are just getting to know one another, but you gotta be able to fly to do that, right? Cheap flights are cheap right now, so there's no excuse. I'm just saying.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Flights are very
Absolutely.
cheap right now. They're very cheap. They're very cheap. I
They
just got
are.
back, you know, this week from going somewhere to go on some dates, and I'm leaving again on Thursday, right? But flights are cheap.
Ooh.
But you know, this is um these are kind of new situations. Like they're not relationships. They're
Mm-hmm.
we meet for dinner, we go hang out at a spot, we have some drinks. That's
Right.
it,
That's
right?
dating.
A lot of people might not be willing to do that. I've had lots of men. I've heard lots of men say, "Well, look, I got to fly you out and I don't have no guaranteed booty. I'm not guaranteeing you shit,
That's
but then I'll be on the
another
flight."
that's another factor just in dating in general where people are expecting or looking at this as a transactional meetup. No one ever said or indicated, I never agreed to, you never even asked,
Yeah.
but it's an expectation.
And there's nothing wrong with transactional situations. But if you are
Mm-hmm.
looking for a transactional situations, you should support sex workers.
Right.
I
You should
fully
communicate
believe in
that.
sex workers. Support sex workers if you want a transactional situation,
That's
right?
exactly what I told somebody the other day. He was just like, "Oh, I do this and I do all that. I spend this much on a seafood dinner, and then at the end of the night, all she want to give me is a hug." I'm like,
Let me tell you
"What did you
something.
expect? Why don't you go call these
My
websites?
uncle,
You can
my
find what you want."
whole life, my uncle has been a pimp, a
Mm-hmm.
PIMP, a
Right.
hardcore coast to coast pimp.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing he told me and my cousins when we were growing up, he said, a man
Mm-hmm.
loves the pleasure of the company of a woman.
Right.
My uncle said, when I go into the bar and I see a beautiful woman, I want to sit next to her. I want to smell her perfume, right? I want to
Mm-hmm.
see if she's the type to do the little dance when she's eating
Mm-hmm.
something that tastes good. I want to see if she's demure and laid back, if she has a lot of conversation. He said, I enjoy paying for the pleasure of the company of a woman. Now, conversely, in my generation,
Mm-hmm.
if you take me out, I am going to be good company.
Right.
I'm not just going to be, because I've seen some people, I've seen some women who are just deplorable, right?
Mm-hmm.
A man takes them out and they have no manners, no couth, no conversation. Their attitude is a hot ghetto mess,
Yes.
right? If you take me out and you are a gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
then in return, you will have the pleasure of good conversation
Mm-hmm.
and quality company, right? So whatever interaction we had in that particular space, if it was drinks or dinner or whatever the case, even if it ends there, and sometimes it just ends there because we want different things. It doesn't mean we're a bad guy.
Right,
Sometimes
right,
it's
right.
because we want different things, or sometimes it's just, you know, sometimes one or the other party has bad manners.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people need to, if you don't know how to date, learn how to date,
That's
right?
another thing.
Like if I've had a gentleman come to my city to take me on a date, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he spent a lot of money to do that. He stayed at a nice place. We had dinner at nice places. We had wine at nice places. But I know he's on the road all the time, and I know there's some things that he misses. And I knew he wanted a home cooked meal. So trust and believe he had a full home cooked meal
Mm-hmm.
when he came to see me. He had it at my house though, because we ain't doing that yet. But you know, I packed it
Right.
up. Most of the time I look like a bohemian hobo, but I put on heels, I put on a nice dress, I was good company, I gave him good food, and I gave him
Mm-hmm.
a gift because I appreciated the effort that he made to come and see me, right?
Right. Right,
I
right.
didn't know how much he spent based upon where we went and where he was. I gave him a nice bottle of cologne and a nice little Movado watch. These are parting gifts, da 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 da. Now I
Mm-hmm.
knew at the end of the weekend that I didn't want to date him, but we're still very cool, right? When I'm in his
See,
city, we hang out and we have dinner. When he's in my city, we hang out and we have dinner.
that is a whole nother like level of dating, just consideration. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't think people date in that capacity anymore because they do have a transactional mind without the communication. So they most times, men aren't willing to put in that much effort for some reason.
Listen,
That's
if
one
I date
thing.
someone
So the woman can't
locally,
even reciprocate because that effort isn't even being poured into her for her to give back.
and that's fine. You listen. The first time, if I date someone locally and I agree to hang out with them, our first meeting pre-COVID, our first meeting is going to be at a Starbucks, and I'll say to them,
Hmm.
"Hey, let's just meet at Starbucks for
Right, right, right.
15 or 20 minutes and see how it goes. No harm, no foul." Right?
Right, right,
I
right.
get there first. I pay for my drink, and I wait for them to get there.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I
Because I
think
just want to see.
that to me is what I would call a
Right.
meet and greet. That to
Right.
me is not like a full, after the meet and greet, then we could start like dating if we really like each other or whatever.
At that first meeting, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
have on sweats, a leggings, a jeans. I'm not getting cutified. You're gonna see me in my natural
In my,
element.
yes,
Flip flops,
exactly.
whatever. You're gonna see me like this. You're gonna see this little fat roll on the side. You know what I mean? You're gonna see it like that. If we have great conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're both feeling it and we agree to meet again, I'm going to say, okay, well, great. I would love to see you again. Let me know what you want to do for the next time.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we meet after that, I'll plan the second one, right?
Right.
But if they let me know that we're going to be going that second date, then I'm doing it up.
Right. I think that's how it's supposed to be done. I think that's how it's supposed to be done. I like just the mentality of your uncle. Just everything in general where, the value of a woman is just having her presence and experiencing her. I think that's something that's very, very important. Just dealing with a lot of today's mentality about dating and the role of a woman, what she's supposed to do, and all this other stuff. It makes people not um, appreciate the practice or custom of polyandry either. You know what I'm trying to say? Because as soon as a woman
Mhm.
says she is, like, oh, she's dating multiple partners, the first thing they do is, oh, you think you a man?
But
All types of things.
if people come to you like that, so here's my thing. So you expect to be able to have the same privileges that you wouldn't extend to me? Don't
Mm-hmm.
ask anything of me that you're not willing to do yourself.
Right.
Now, that can be tricky in polyandry, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you're not a person who's open to polyamorous relationships as well, it can be difficult because that's exactly what you're asking,
Right.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
you have to be willing to be honest with people about what it is that you want. I've met a lot of gentlemen. I met one man, and I tell you, I think he was my match,
Mm-hmm.
but he was only interested in polygamy.
Mm.
And I'm just not. It's not that I'm not willing to date you. I'm willing to date you. But if you date, we dating.
That's not acceptable in their mind. You know what I'm trying to say? Once they are into polygyny, it's not. Yeah, you're not going
So
to be dating
then
outside of me. I'm all you need, woman. I'm all you need.
I tell people right up front, either we're polyamorous or we're involved in polyandrous unions.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. But listen, we live in a patriarchal society. You have had
Yes.
your whole life,
Mm-hmm.
right, to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the package that I come in. The shit comes with a lot of benefits, but it comes like this,
Right.
right? This dude, I'm telling you, he was a great match, and he still calls. He still calls. Listen, this man has continued contact with me for 10 years.
This happens a lot. You know this, right? I think this happens a lot. And I like, do you think, because I just started realizing this or just thinking about it as of recently, do you feel like certain times people may, as you would say, block their blessings because they have a particular image in their mind of what they want to do? Like, there's so many times a polygynous man will be interested in a polyandrous woman, but they won't date
Mm-hmm,
each other. But it's kind of like
mm-hmm.
they're magnets. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like they align in so many different ways, but they can't tend to, be with each other.
I'm not saying that you should try everything,
Hmm.
right? But sometimes we have to listen again. It's been 10 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Like, really, I could say we're dating.
Hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I see this man pretty regularly, to be honest, right?
Right.
We have lunch or dinner together probably 2 or 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's not uncommon that when he travels, I travel with him, or when I travel, he travels with me. We've not slept together, right? I'm
Hmm.
not I'm not willing to do it unless he's very, very clear that I'm not changing for you.
Right. Absolutely.
This for me is a non-negotiable. I'm not changing for you.
Mm-hmm.
He has, let's just suffice it to say, he has done things that men do in relationships.
Of course. Of course.
So what I
Because what
say
he
to
feels for you is
him,
genuine. But again, the logical side of it will put him at a halt to where he would only do this,
hmm
but
hmm
then won't go any further.
I've had to, and sometimes you just have to lay it out plain for them
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to see it and they don't want to know. But I've had to say to him, you do know when you gave me a card for my birthday, I was screwing someone else.
That little reminder is sometimes is so imperative that you send reminders. I had to tell people this. Like sometimes
Right,
there's so many times a man would be interested in you and start talking to you and you tell them
right,
you're transparent,
right,
honest, and they say, oh, I'm not into that, but then they continue to talk to you and continue to pursue you and
right.
then start treating you
And I'm
as
not
if
going to
you are in a
tell them.
relationship, but
Right,
you got to throw this out there just so they could never say, oh, I didn't know.
right. I know when I called you at so and so, you were with your wife.
Right.
How do I know? Because she answered the phone
Mm-hmm.
and we chatted.
Right.
She has my number.
Mm-hmm.
You want dude's number or no?
No, he's not trying to accept that.
But you're doing things. You're not buying vehicles for women. You understand what I'm saying?
That's basically a relationship without the sexual part. That's what you would call that
Right.
asexual.
You're conversing with your wife about things that you should do with me or for me or just because or that I need. Or your wife has mentioned something to me and blah 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 and she needed this or something came up and I handled it and sent it to you
Mm-hmm.
because you were off wherever you were working on whatever you working and because I could.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't her wheelhouse, that was my wheelhouse. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Mm-hmm.
you so you're doing all the stuff without all the benefits.
That's just silly.
But
To
that's his
me. To
choice.
me.
That's his choice. He doesn't think he could stomach any woman of his sleeping with another man. And I'm like, sir, you're already stomaching it.
Right. It's stomached. It's digested.
It's done. It's done. Right?
I
If I'm
find that to be
laying in
so
the bed with my
hilarious.
boyfriend and I pick up the phone for you, it's because you're
Mm-hmm.
important in my life.
Right.
But that's his choice. That's his choice. I won't title him. And listen, he won't be more for me than I am to him.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it is what it is, and he's just a friend.
Whew. So, okay, so if you end up in a particular relationship with a man who is open to polyandry, accepting of all of your partners, but he wants to just
Not
be
all of my
fair,
partners. There's none now, but okay, go ahead.
right? I'm just throwing out this particular future
Okay.
scenario, right? So he's accepting of, you know, any partner you may have. But he
hmm
wants it to be fair and he doesn't want you treating any of your friends like your boyfriends or actual committed relationships.
What does that mean? He doesn't want me to do what?
Do like the trips or the weekly dinners with the friends that you know
Ju- 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 So I take my relationships with people seriously, with both
Mm-hmm.
men and women. You
Mm-hmm.
don't get to dictate the
Mm-hmm.
relationships that I have. Now, if someone is being disrespectful, if someone is
Mm-hmm.
not respecting who you are in my life, that's one thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't get to dictate
Mm-hmm.
the relationships that I have. If you're uncomfortable because you don't know what happens and you'd like to come along, join us.
Okay.
The door is open.
That's a good one right there. Come on
Me, you, and
through.
Michael can just be sitting down at dinner and at lunch and everything else. Come, I'm cool with it. And
Mm-hmm.
he's going to be cool with it.
Is he?
Or not. Listen, both of y'all cannot be cool with it. But what it
Mm-hmm.
won't be is me not telling the truth. Tell the truth, shame the devil. We're going to
Right.
sit at this damn table. You said you were uncomfortable. You ain't know what was going on. Well, here it is. You want to meet or no? You don't want to meet? Then what are we talking about?
Right.
You don't want me to go to
Mm-hmm.
lunch with my friend? Okay. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'll call you when I get back.
I'm just the same because sometimes men can feel threatened by certain relationships.
I'll
Like,
call you when I
oh,
get
this
back.
person isn't one of us. This person doesn't want to be one of us. So why are you giving him so much time? Type of, you
Because those are
know.
my friends. I spend time with who I want to spend time with.
Mhm.
Are you telling me that you're not getting enough time? If you're telling me that, then we can discuss that.
Right, 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 right.
Is that what
Well,
you're telling me?
yes.
If that's what you're telling me, then let's figure
Most
out how
times
we
that
can
may not
spend
even
more
be the
time together.
case, you
Right.
know?
So shut the hell up. Don't play with me. Don't play with me or my autonomy. And I mean that.
Right. So basically, the men in your life have to be secure within themselves. They have to definitely respect your autonomy and, be willing and ready to communicate if they are having any particular feelings, and just come at you in a
And it can
respectful
be
manner.
hard. It can be hard. So I'm not saying you have to be a master communicator. I'm saying you have to be open and you have to
Right.
make an effort and you have to try, right? If you
Right.
want to know why our relationship may not be progressing, it's because
Mm-hmm.
maybe we haven't been able to get past that point. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily giving up on you,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there may come a time, but it doesn't mean I'm necessarily giving up on the situation, right? I
Mm-hmm.
understand that I've been doing this, right? And somebody else may not have been doing this for a while. And so it's a
Right.
period of adjustment. It's the self-work, it's the growth, it's all of these
Mm-hmm.
things. It's the dichotomy shift. It's all of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, I'm willing to an extent, uh, to meet you where you are, right? And try to walk the walk with you,
Right. Right. Absolutely. Right.
right? But
Stephanie said it sounds like he's not ready for a polyamorous relationship. Right. So my thing is people can identify as that and still have troubles. Like we said, some people may not have, you know, practiced this before and they're just coming into it. And just like Ace mentioned earlier, sometimes it requires patience and a little bit of compassion for those who are coming in new and these are certain scenarios that may happen. I'm trying to say just because they're new to it and actually living it. They may think they're okay with it in the beginning, just the idea of, oh, I don't mind, I respect your autonomy, blah, blah, blah. And then when they get into it, you never know what may be a trigger or what may be threatening to them, and then it will become a conversation within the dating, relationship thing. So
mm-hmm.
that happens all the time, whether they identify as polyamorous or polyandrous or not. They may think they're good because, trust me, every man who speaks to me is like, "Oh, I got this in the beginning," and then there's always some sort of identifying factor of whether they can or can't, or if they still have some work to do.
So for me, like, you know, a lot of people are like, hey, if we're going to be sleeping together, we might as well sleep together up front to see if it's even worth it, right? My approach is a little bit different
Mm-hmm.
because my thing is sex can complicate things in so many ways, right? So I'm generally going
Yes.
to probably hold back a little bit to see
Mm-hmm.
where we are mentally, to see where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, and that's just a personal choice, I'm not saying my way is the right way. But one of the reasons that I do that is, you know what I hate? I hate like thinking about it later and be like, I done let this dude sweat on me and he can't communicate like a grown up. You like, no, sir. No. Like that just irritates me to no end. So I hold back a little bit. I have
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends who are the complete opposite. They're like, no, let's get that out of the way first, because if it ain't worth it, next. But that depends on your personality, you know. Are
Mm-hmm.
you more of a sapiosexual? Are you more um, driven to physical touch and sexual interaction? Are you, you know, that's part of
Right.
knowing who you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, and I've had men say, hey, I'm interested in you and I want to date you, and I know you're not comfortable in sleeping with me yet. So you got to know that that means I'm going to be sleeping with other people. I'm okay with
Right.
that. A
Right.
lot of women in polyandry are not okay with that. They feel like when,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when courting starts, that you shouldn't talk to nobody else and you shouldn't do nothing else. And that's fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to know who you're dealing with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Personally, two partners is enough for me because time
Two's
is
enough.
finite. Two is enough. There's 24 hours in a day. You know, I got
Mm-hmm.
businesses and work and other stuff to do. You understand what I'm saying? And to deal with two grown ass, ashy kneed dudes with appetites and a that's just enough, right?
I mean,
You understand?
sometimes there's different kinds of men. Sometimes there's men who don't have a high appetite. Some men are, just laid back. They may be withdrawn socially. They may not need a lot of your time. You know what I'm trying to say? There's some who may require a lot of your
So
energy and some who may not.
I, so all of my relationships personally do not have to be sexual.
Mm-hmm.
However, I require time
Right.
and
Okay.
attention and affection and
Mm-hmm.
interaction, right? And
Okay.
I'm an introvert who requires that.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So with my partners and with people that I know, I'm probably more extroverted. With the
Okay.
general public,
Mm-hmm.
complete and total introvert.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So basically, thank you so much for
You're
just giving
welcome.
me everything you did today, all these jewels and gems and everything, all your wisdom. I definitely appreciate it. So, what I want for you to do is, what I would love to know is, just your businesses, what you have going on. I want the public to know how they can reach you, what's going on, so that they can support you in your life endeavors. I know I went on your page, and I know you have jewelry. I've seen
Mhm.
some things, so tell us about that.
Well, my primary business is I'm a realtor and business broker. So I do
Okay.
residential commercial real estate. I sell businesses, um, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my hobby that's turning into a business is jewelry. I make jewelry. I sell crystals. Um, yeah. One of the family businesses is bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm.
My stepdad is a CPA. I do his bookkeeping and I do all his IRS negotiations. I liaise with the IRS and he does the other stuff. Um,
Okay.
so I'm kind of all over the place. I'm a typical Sagittarius. I'm like, right?
Okay.
So, but yeah, real estate is my primary source of income. In one way or another, real estate or commercial lending or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Hmm.
beautiful, beautiful. So what you can do is if you can just let everyone know your website, where whether we can support you.
You can follow for Phoenix Adornments. Phoenix Adornments. And on IG, it's Phoenix Adornment.
Okay, Phoenix Adornment, and on Facebook it's Phoenix Adornments with an S.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, great. So you can also write it down in the comments as well. So we can have that. I want to make sure I put it in the description because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on my YouTube for those of us for those who couldn't make it or whatever. So I want to be able to have your information in my description and as well as there was one more thing I want to ask. Okay, yes. Are you open to speaking to anyone who may just want advice or mentorship or anything who may be navigating the polyandry, world, would they be able to contact you and, speak with you?
I mean, I'm certainly open to discussion with folks.
Hmm.
Um, you know, within the constraints of time, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So, if you're looking to have a discussion about polyandry every Thursday afternoon at 8 o'clock, I'm not your girl.
Right.
But if you're open to, let's talk when we can talk,
Hmm.
yeah, you can certainly inbox me. Tell me who you are, because otherwise I'll be like, who is that? I don't know them.
Right. My thing is, I tell people if you want to come into someone's inbox, the first thing you should do is introduce yourself.
Yes,
Introduce yourself
please.
and state your intention. So you would come in and say, hey, how are you? I'm Akasha. I saw you here. I heard you on, this particular interview, and I was interested in speaking with you about such and such because da, 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 da. It would be great if you had some time. I would like to know if you're available to speak. And this is how come
Listen,
across professionally and
I'm a
respectfully.
50-year-old woman. You cannot jump in my inbox and be like, what you doing?
Right. I just need to
I'm,
break that down for a second because
that's
there's
not
a
my
lot of inboxes
generation.
I ignore
That's
because
not gonna
people
work.
just don't approach properly. Right. So just
Right.
take
And
that
I'm
tip,
easy. I'm
anyone.
easy to talk to, but I still would need to know, who you are.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yes, thank you so much for your time. I definitely
You're
appreciate it. And I know everyone
welcome.
else appreciates it as well. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
I'm
Bye,
going to let you
Stephanie. Bye,
go.
Nelson. And who else is in there? Hi, y'all. Hi, y'all.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you so much, Ace. Thank
All
you.
right, though. Okay,
All
talk to
right,
you soon.
then. Talk to you
Well,
soon.
how do I hang it up? I don't know how to do that. Make it go away. Oh, there it is. I see it.
It's okay. Thank you so much. That was actually really beautiful and enlightening. So I'm super happy that we got a chance to speak with her, and I want to thank everyone who came to the live and participated and actually got a chance to hear her story. I will do my best to have this here, and I will also have more, interviews ready for you guys, as well as courses and classes and things of that nature, just to educate on polyandry. And thank you all so much for coming. Thanks, Sam, Nelson, Stephanie, everybody. I will get a chance to see you all soon and have a great night. Peace and blessings.